Season 5 Reloaded is here, and along with bringing content to Black Ops Cold War, Warzone got a long-awaited update here that's been almost 9 months in the making. Today we're breaking down everything that changed here with this update and what you may see for the very first time when jumping in here to either Black Ops Cold War or Warzone. So as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of this update so far? Are you liking the additions here to Warzone and Cold War? Maybe not so much. Whatever the case may be, feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. But hopefully enjoy the video. If you do, make sure you drop a like down below. Let's aim for 1,000 likes on this video. And of course, if you are new to the channel, with nearly 60% of viewers not subscribed, if you want to stay up to date with all things Warzone, Vanguard, Cold War, you name it, anything COD related, we got you covered here on the channel. So we got a lot to talk about and still up on deck. If you're interested, stick around, hit that subscribe button. That said, let's jump right into it because there is a lot to talk about. So taking a quick little break here from the Call of Duty Vanguard stuff we've been doing here and gearing up for the beta, we got, of course, our mid-season update for Season 5, the Season 5 Reloaded update that dropped in between all of this sort of hectic nature with it. But we got a lot to break into, so I figure we just start out with the Cold War stuff, the more so content, the stuff you can take part in and play about with. For Cold War, we actually got a decent number of things. This update came out as of last night, but is, of course, time-gated and playable now that the entire Season 5 Reloaded update for both Cold War and Warzone are out. But this released with it a new map, or rather returning map, because if you were around since Black Ops 1 and some of the DLC that came along with that, you may recognize this map. Zoo is a remaster here of that classic DLC map, and if you played on it back then, you may be familiar with it right now. Personally, I liked this one a lot back in the day, but it's been so long since I've played on it. I might have to go through a little relearning phase here, if that makes sense, but definitely curious to jump on into this one. Always happy to play on a new map, and one that I've historically liked as well. We have Demolition coming, a mode that up until a couple of years ago was honestly a staple in the Call of Duty franchise, but hopefully this is one that sticks around. One thing that is nice about Treyarch, though, and Black Ops Cold War is that a lot of these sort of LTMs aren't as limited time as they were in, say, Modern Warfare and, say, Call of Duty World War II. We had Demolition for like a couple of weeks at a time, and that was it. But hopefully that is something that is introduced here and stays a staple within Black Ops Cold War. On the zombie side of things, we had a couple of things here introduced. We had the new Armada Outbreak region, which is actually confirmed to be the final Outbreak region here. So we're going to see the final round-based map with Season 6. That was confirmed by their patch notes, but that is something that rounds out the Outbreak content here for this year. We also have the new Black Chest event spawn happening within Outbreak, and we also have some cool things like new Prestige Shop items like new calling cards and a brand new blueprint you can purchase. That's a lot of the key main focal points here with this for Black Ops Cold War, but we also saw that rounding that out was now introduced the playlist of Zoo 24/7 to sort of celebrate the new map or returning map of Zoo, Demolition, Nuketown 24/7, Cranked Mosh Pit, Gunfight, Face-Off 6v6, 12v12 Mosh Pit, which now features Zoo and Drive-In, so both of those remasters now introduced into the fold there, party games, and multi-team as well. But jumping over to Warzone, we had quite an eventful Season 5 Reloaded update. The big thing really marketed with Season 5 Reloaded is that of the numbers event, but that's not being introduced until later on, the 21st. That then kind of staying out of the way of the Vanguard beta for both this weekend and next, then allowing players to manage their time for all of those things in relation to COD. You can end up playing on both weekends of the beta, but also not miss out on any limited time event here in terms of Warzone. So that was something that was postponed, but in the meantime, we ended up seeing that we actually got a couple of big things here. Number one, Dark Aether. 268 days or 8 months and 25 days since it was announced that we wouldn't get this introduced with the integration in Season 1. Dark Aether is finally here. Teased initially as of a couple of days ago in the blog post previewing the Season 5 Reloaded update, and then again in tonight's patch notes previewing that same image, but also with the hyperlink with the caption of just question mark, question mark, question mark. If you go to that image and you were to take a look at the file designation for it, it is the German translation for image 115. 115 being, of course, that massive tie to zombies, element 115, and why else would we end up seeing etched out images of weaponry, zombies, characters, all within Warzone? Feels surreal, man, after waiting for so long. I mean, it's something that I don't think we should have waited this long for, but to finally happen, it's like the dog finally chasing the car and catching it. I think that means I can put my DM Ultra grind to rest here since I don't need it. I have another Mastery camo that I can sport off in Warzone on Black Ops Cold War weaponry. Maybe it's time to uninstall Cold War. I guess we'll see, but that was introduced today. We'll have a guide here breaking down the best ways and fastest ways to unlock Dark Aether if you haven't done it already here. Coming later on in the day or maybe tomorrow on Friday. we'll see how everything works out. But we also saw that there were some red door changes here at this, so be on the lookout for what those entail. The mobile broadcast stations are stated to having started to stir, and will soon be amplifying the Dragovich protocol tapes, but that's something that is likely going to be tied in with the numbers event here, so that full exposure of it isn't likely going to kick in just yet, but you may start to see some interesting things here around these broadcast stations. We saw some loot refreshments in terms of gulag loadouts, new pre-match loadouts, and also new ground and supply box loot, which is definitely nice. Haven't gotten my hands on time just yet to know exactly every weapon here of the loot pool. Hopefully it's better than this past introduction of Season 5's launch to where we were up until this update. That wasn't all that great, but we also saw a ton of weapon tuning made here, so that's something that may change and shake up a lot of the meta that you're used to. I'll likely have timestamps on this video where you can end up, say, going from one part to the next, and so if this doesn't necessarily interest you, you can skip ahead a little bit, but there is a lot to talk about. So firstly, the C58 had its recoil adjusted. Raven stated that this change wasn't necessarily so much in terms of the vertical kick or anything like that, but instead was more so in the recoil pattern deviation. So it may feel different here whenever you end up trying to take down an enemy as opposed to where it was a couple of days ago. The EM2 had its base optic eye position retracted here at this, in which Raven stated this will now be a less viable option for those lesser skilled marksmen, perhaps more so favoring an optic attachment, whereas you may have gotten away with it beforehand. Though, truth be told, the EM2 wasn't great with its default optic, if you ask me. Then we saw Assault Rifle Bravo for Modern Warfare, which was also then the FAL, that had an upper torso multiplier decrease from 1.1 to 1. Now, Raven says that their data suggests that this thing's an absolute monster, and I absolutely agree, but I think one of the reasons why it's been popping up is because there's been an influx of cheaters using the FAL. That might just be a little bit off base, but that's what I'm seeing from the outside looking in. But anyways, that was decreased to change out that TTK out of the 300 millisecond range. The Groza had an increase to the sprint to fire speed by 15%, making that a little bit more mobile of a weapon here and a little bit more gun up and snappy here for you if you like that. The Krig 6 had a couple of different changes here in which the maximum damage was decreased from 30 to 29. The mid damage is now 25, that playing into a new damage value that they ended up creating for this. And then the minimum damage was decreased from 25 to 23, and they stated the weapon kick was adjusted. Now, the damage values are pretty self-explanatory and what that means, but the weapon kick adjusted, that's one that's a little bit ambiguous and vague. But while it might be something that, like the other things here, kind of seems like a nerf to the Krig, they said that they reduced the weapon's bounciness while firing, which makes it feel more enjoyable to use. So that may have actually gotten a buff and makes it even easier to use, but we'll see how that all plays out. The LMGs, we saw that the Stoner had its recoil increased slightly here at this. That's something that I expected them to do here at this. It's still a beast, but it's going to be a little bit harder to use by comparison to where it was beforehand. All tactical rifles in Black Ops Cold War had adjustments here to it, in which the AUG ended up getting a recoil decrease, maybe bringing this back in line to something that they're trying to make it viable again here at this. The DMR also had its recoil adjusted, and again, this not necessarily dealing with an outright decrease to the recoil, but they stated was a sort of rework of the recoil pattern. So this may be something that pops up more and more here, which will be interesting. Hoping we don't go back to the DMR meta, because we did see that sweeping TTK adjustment a couple of updates ago, so it shouldn't be something that kills you in 2 shots again, but it may be viable here coming soon. The M16 had a weapon kick decrease, making that a little bit sturdier while firing, and then the Type 63 had actually a decent number of things here done to it. A headshot multiplier decreased from 2.1 to 1.58, kind of gutting that multiplier. A neck multiplier increased from 1.2 to 1.58, bring that in line with the headshot, making it a little bit more forgiving if you miss a direct headshot. The upper torso multiplier was decreased from 1.2 to 1. The lower torso multiplier was decreased from 1.1 to 1, and the weapon kick overall was decreased. Now, on the submachine gun side of things, we ended up seeing the submachine gun Charlie for the Modern Warfare MP5, with the 10mm auto 30 rounds in particular, had a maximum damage decrease from 34 to 31. So that's something that you may have seen an influx of players using that recently. That's been adjusted now. The OTS-9 had a maximum damage range decrease by 6.2%, and that might not seem like a whole ton, but the OTS was actually pretty powerful at a medium range, so to have this reeled back in is going to be something you definitely notice if you're challenging things that aren't necessarily in prime SMG territory. The PPSH ended up getting a weapon weapon kick adjustment here, an ADS sway adjustment, stating that these are subtle changes that will have a significant impact on the ability to reliably line up shots. The sniper rifle of the Swiss K31 had a recoil adjustment here with this, but Raven said they expect this to go largely unnoticed as it doesn't have a measurable impact on the weapon's effectiveness, but should improve its overall feel. As well, the ZRG 20mm also had a recoil adjustment, as Raven stated, to ensure that it looks, sounds, and most importantly feels like one of the baddest sniper rifles in Verdansk. Now, we also had a handful of different attachments like barrels and rear grips for rifles, light machine guns, and tactical rifles, but to save you guys the sort of monotony of going over those individual values, you'll see them on screen right now, kind of presented all in one here for you. But again, that's quite a lot in terms of changes that came along with this for weapon tuning. We hadn't seen a very substantial weapon tuning pass in a couple of updates here, and with only weapon tunings happening at major seasonal events at this point, it seems like it's definitely interesting to see how this will refresh the meta, and I'm very curious to jump in and test it all out for myself. Of course, we'll have our top 10 loadouts after update here coming very soon as well. We'll get that out as soon as possible, but that was the weapon tuning that came along with this update. For our playlist this week, we ended up seeing we have solos, duos, trios, and quads for your standard BR. We have Clash introduced here, that 50v50 TDM that was teased since the very beginning of Season 5, and Rebirth, Resurgence, trios, and quads. So quite a lot on offer here for Warzone players in terms of playable content. And really the only other things that were added here at this update, outside of some bug fixes, are some smaller shop items like the Tracer Pack Ghost Ship Mastercraft bundle, that coming at the launch here. The Chemical Reaction Pro Pack, something that allows you to get 2,400 COD points and some skins for the real-life denomination of $20. That's coming in season, as is the Hudson bundle. And as always, if you'd like to pick that kind of stuff up and help support the channel a little further, using creator code Espresso in the in-game shop does help out greatly, but of course is entirely optional. If you ever do decide to do so and support the channel a little further, tweet me a picture. I'd love to shout out some of your generous support in upcoming videos, like these legends on screen right now. But that's really kind of where we're at here with this update. We of course have Judge Dredd coming here for the operator of Beck, and then also Hudson coming for operators for the remainder of the season. We have the numbers event coming on the 21st. We end up having the Iron Trials starting on the 16th, so next week here at this one, in which that's going to be a brand new look at how Warzone can play, offering up as well an exclusive calling card if you end up winning any of the Iron Trials matches. So a lot of stuff here still to come, but a lot dropped here as of today with this update. So that's where we're going to wrap it up. I would love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this Season 5 Reloaded update for Warzone and Black Ops Cold War? You like it? Maybe not so much. Whatever the case may be, feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone, Cold War, and of course, Call of Duty Vanguard as the beta approaches here this weekend and next. So if you're new and you're interested in any of that, hit that subscribe button. If you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected from outside of YouTube. But I live on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever the case may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name's been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.